It's time to put the good in your morning. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Today, divers in Dubai explore a sunken city that is now open to the public.
Little rain coming down on this Monday morning. Not going to amount to much, but we do need to update flood warnings that occurred over the weekend. The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And we have the latest COVID-19 numbers. Stay with us, all that and more coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Zach Dodge. Local health officials say state vaccine records don't really tell the whole story. In Cherokee County, the KDHE says that 309 per 1,000 people have been vaccinated with at least one dose. But the local health department last week told us that may not really be the case. Why it's not is because if a resident is vaccinated in another state, like Missouri, the state of Kansas doesn't get a record of that.
We have a lot of residents who either work in Missouri or they have their medical provider that's in Missouri, and they're getting the vaccine there. So when you look at the vaccination rate, it's low compared to what the actual number really is.
Both the Kansas Department of Health and Missouri Department of Health point out the discrepancy on their websites. The Infection Control Director at Ascension Via Christi recommends letting your local health department know if you are vaccinated in another state. COVID-19 is on the rise in the Sooner State, and Northeast Oklahoma health officials who are seeing an increase in coronavirus cases and hospitalizations are speaking out as the situation heads in the wrong direction. At Integris Hospital in Grove, Oklahoma, Dr. Sam Ratterman says his team went 4 to 6 weeks without seeing a COVID-19 hospitalization. But then the situation changed mid-June.
We're seeing a lot of people come in a lot sicker than they were with the original case. We're seeing a lot younger patients come in. It seems to me that a lot of these patients seem to maybe delay getting tested a little bit longer, and their symptoms are progressing a little bit more by the time they come to the hospital.
Dr. Ratterman recommends that anyone who's eligible for a COVID-19 vaccine gets one. He also says if you have any questionable symptoms, get tested and get treated early. He says the majority of COVID-19 treatments work much better early on during the infection process. The Missouri Department of Health and Human Services has declared 3 counties near Missouri's Lake of the Ozarks COVID-19 hotspots: Camden, Miller, and Morgan counties. The CEO at Lake Regional Health Systems says there's been a steady increase of unvaccinated COVID-positive patients being admitted to the hospital over the past few weeks. The public health community has indicated the Delta variant is present in Missouri, so the hospital assumes that that is what has been sweeping the state. About half the patients that are hospitalized need ventilators. The Missouri State Highway Patrol says a 14-year-old boy from Knoll drowned in Elk River Friday night. According to the Highway Patrol, the incident occurred just before 8:30 on Friday night. Officials say the 14-year-old was playing in shallow water and went too far into the water and drowned. He was taken to Freeman West in Joplin, where he was pronounced dead just before 11 o'clock. Police in Nevada, Missouri arrest a woman accused of trafficking drugs through the mail. Authorities say 43-year-old Dawn Hopper of Nevada received a package with 115 grams of suspected methamphetamine through the Postal Service. Hopper is charged with second-degree trafficking drugs. Tyson Foods has expanded a nationwide recall on some chicken products over possible bacterial contamination. The company recalled more than 450,000 pounds of chicken over concerns that some ready-to-eat products could have listeria contamination. The products were produced at their Missouri plant from December 26, 2020 to April 13, 2021. Institutions like nursing homes, hospitals, schools, and defense locations are affected, as well as stores like Walmart, Wegmans, and H-E-B. The total recall now sits at about 9 million pounds of Tyson products. For the full list, see the USDA's Food Safety and Inspection Service website. Joplin city officials released an update on the network security incident from July 7th. In Saturday's update, city officials say that they confirmed the third-party service the city uses to process utility payments and store residents' payment information was not affected by the incident. The city adds that it does not store residents' payment information in its network. Drivers in Dubai can explore an underwater sunken city in the world's deepest pool, which reaches depths of almost 200 feet at a facility called Deep Dive Dubai. Footage shows drivers swimming around an underwater arcade, library, and apartment. Whoa, that's crazy. The facility says it was confirmed as the world's deepest pool by Guinness World Records and can hold the equivalent of 6 Olympic-sized swimming pools. That is a lot of water. It opened on last Wednesday, July 7th, currently operating on an invitation-only basis with public bookings set to begin at the end of July. So that's not in too long then. We're in July, so at the end of the month, that's really cool.
Zach and I are awaiting our invitations, as a matter of fact. I've not checked the mail this morning, so
I have not yet either. I don't think mine's come yet, though.
Our tickets, and our invitation may be there, Zach. We don't know that for sure. Why in the world would you want to go down 200 feet in a pool?
I don't know. It's water, though. That's
I
super
love
cool.
your honesty, sir. I honestly do. Just the little tie.
I can't think of anything more witty than that.
Dodge goes, I don't know. And you're like, it's like, I don't know. Why wouldn't I? You could write home and say, I've been in the world's deepest pool. Mom.
Right.
Dear Mama Dodge.
For the
I have been
rights.
in the world's deepest pool. Love, Zach.
Right.
I'm sure the.
Or I just go out to her house.
I'll make sure the hotel gets you a postcard too. We got some raindrops coming down on 7th and Range Line here, just dotting the camera every now and then. Certainly hasn't been anything that's been substantial. It's not really affecting the commute. I don't even know if you need your windshield wipers on, as a matter of fact. I zoomed in. I really didn't see anybody. We even had the wipers going. Very mild right now. We're in the mid-60s. And the Skywatch Storm Tracker, sometimes I like it when it's finicky, but I can tell you right now, I walk outside the mothership and we're getting a light sprinkle as well. So just because you don't maybe not see any green or even a lighter blue right there, I understand.
It's incognito.
Is the rain is what?
It's incognito, getting in under the radar.
Zach Dodge is exclusively reporting.
Sorry.
I want this on the bottom line with our new graphics. Zach Dodge is exclusively reporting the rain has gone incognito.
Under the radar.
That was good. That was good. High today around 80, but enjoy one day of mild July weather. We're right back up on the thermometer from Tuesday through Friday, high 80s, low 90s.
Very cool. Thanks, Michael. We'll check back in with you where I won't interrupt
Might
you
not
next
be.
time.
I might be in a swimming pool. How about that?
In a 200-foot deep swimming pool.
You don't know.
Later, guys.
I may have got my invitation
you'll see me
before
tomorrow.
You got yours.
But thank you much, Michael. Up next, later today, Pfizer will address health officials about the possible need for a COVID-19 booster shot. And you could be one of the lucky few to jettison into space with Virgin Galactic. We'll be right back after this. Healthcare providers are prescribing less antibiotics in the U.S. Rhode Island researchers looked at more than 1,200 clinics and found antibiotic prescribing fell by almost 4% in recent years in the outpatient setting. Researchers say the threat of antibiotic resistance is increasing, so more needs to be done to prevent overprescribing. The campaign to get Americans vaccinated for COVID-19 has prevented some 279,000 deaths and 1.25 million hospitalizations. That's according to a new Yale School of Public Health study. Researchers warn more people still need to get vaccinated, especially with variants circulating. Pfizer thinks a booster for its COVID-19 vaccine might be necessary, something they're set to talk about with U.S. officials today. For now, the FDA and the CDC say they're not necessary, But as Britt Conway reports, some medical experts say that could change.
This week marks 7 months since the first American outside of a trial got a COVID-19 vaccine. Since then, hundreds of millions of Americans have rolled up their sleeves too. More than 56% of people who can get vaccinated, that's 12 and up, are fully vaccinated. But today, a senior health official says Pfizer will brief government officials about the potential need for a booster dose of its vaccine, after Israel released data showing a marked decline in its effectiveness from more than 90% down to about 64%. As the Delta variant spreads. Now, Israel will offer a third dose of Pfizer's vaccine to people who are immunocompromised, and the UK announced last month it might offer boosters too. But the CDC and the FDA say Americans who have been fully vaccinated do not need a booster shot at this time. At this time being key.
But that doesn't mean we stop there. There are studies being done now, ongoing as we speak, about looking at the feasibility about if and when we should be boosting people.
And who should get that booster. But getting FDA approval and a formal CDC recommendation takes time.
That's a multi-month process, so if we don't get started right now, we're not going to be in a position to have boosters available should we need it come the fall.
That was Britt Conway reporting. Using a toilet can pay for your coffee or buy you bananas at a university in South Korea, where excrement is being used to help power a building. An urban and environmental engineering professor at the Ulsan National Institute of Science and Technology has designed an eco-friendly toilet connected to a laboratory that uses human waste to produce biogas and manure. The BV toilet uses a vacuum pump to send feces into an underground tank, reducing water use. There, microorganisms break down the waste to methane, which becomes a source of energy for the building, powering a gas stove, hot water boiler, and solid oxide fuel cell. Each person using the eco-friendly toilet learns a virtual currency called G-Ghoul, which students can use to buy goods on campus, from freshly brewed coffee to instant cup noodles and fruits and books, so they can start the process all over again. All over again. It just goes around and around. But that is pretty cool.
I believe in the words of Sir Elton John. He said it's the circle of life.
There you go.
There you go.
Except for I hope they don't
You didn't
books.
You didn't think I'd work the Lion King into that story, now did you, Dodge?
Right.
We'll have a look outside of Television City, where we've got some light rain coming down on this Monday morning. You can tell the raindrops dotting the camera over 7th and Range Line in Joplin. Now the temperatures, can't complain about this for the middle of July. 67 degrees post sunrise. Oh, that's 65 in Monette, 64 in Neodesha and Independence, and 65 as well in Miami. You can see the light cloud cover right there creating the overcast skies. You work out to the west, it gets a little bit better. And like I said, the rain's about a drizzle, so it doesn't even hardly pick up there. Flood warnings for the Osage and Little Osage rivers lasting all the way until Wednesday. A look at the contiguous 48, and while there's rain up in the northeast, they're going to have flooding concerns in the southwest as well, as the system has moved in off the Gulf of Mexico. Our highs today, only high 70s, low 80s. That's real hard to beat for this time of year, as we'll see some late morning and early afternoon rain, mainly on the eastern portion of the 4 states. It's going to be hard pressed to even get over the Missouri-Kansas state line. Nothing severe, nothing elongated, and then we clear out Monday, then get ready for the return of the heat. High 80s and 90s from Tuesday all the way to Sunday. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. The name of an insect that does a lot of damage to trees is going to be changed in the name of political correctness. That's a sees the commonly used names of bugs, and one of those happens to be the gypsy moth. And as Zach and I both learned this morning, there's also society has decided, because the Romanian people decided that gypsy has long been known as an ethnic slur. The society is going to change that name. No idea what the new name will be. They said it will take months to decide. But our question, simply put for you, is: should the gypsy moth be renamed? Right now, 92% of you say no. You can make your voice heard each and every morning by going to komnewsnow.com/vote. Now over to Zach in Studio 10.
The 71-year-old owner of Virgin Galactic aircraft has been dreaming to go to space since he was a child. On Sunday, that dream became a reality when he blasted off to space on his rocket ship. Jeff Paul has more from Spaceport America in New Mexico.
Billionaire Richard Branson celebrating what he calls a dream of a lifetime after he successfully made it to space on his own Virgin Galactic aircraft.
I have dreamt of this moment since I was a kid, but honestly, nothing could prepare you for the view of Earth from space.
Branson, along with 3 Virgin employees and 2 pilots, launched into space on Sunday aboard VSS Unity. The crew blasted off from Spaceport America in the town of Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. They were on board a sort of passenger rocket plane. The twin fuselage carrier jet carried Unity to 50,000 feet. It was then released and blasted off through the Earth's atmosphere. They experienced some weightlessness and then headed back to Earth. In all, the flight lasted about 90 minutes from start to finish. The 70-year-old business mogul says he could see more clearly from space.
We're here to make space more accessible to all, and we want to turn the next generation of dreamers into the astronauts of today and tomorrow.
A group of students had a front row ground seat to watch the first fully crewed test flight to space.
And I'm happy that we're able to go into space now and discover new things about the galaxy.
Branson's blast comes 9 days ahead of another billionaire's trip to space. Jeff Bezos is set to head to space from West Texas. While Branson's flight is set to be longer, Bezos' Blue Origin will climb higher to 62 miles at altitude. Either way, both will be making huge steps for commercial spaceflight.
With this successful flight, Virgin Galactic is now the first privately owned rocket company to launch its owner and founder into space. And if you would like to become a part of the harrowing heights of Virgin Galactic, you can. The company announced they're giving away 2 free tickets on their 2022 spaceflight. The giveaway, in partnership with charity fundraiser Omaze, will let the winners go into space aboard Virgin Galactic's VSS Unity and also get an all-expenses-paid trip to New Mexico and a tour of the spaceport given by Richard Branson. Those interested can make a charitable donation on Omaze from now until August 31st. Winners are expected to be announced around September 29th. TikTok announces new steps to remove content which violates its community guidelines. The company says it will now use new automated systems to remove some videos instead of solely relying on human moderators. Systems will take down videos containing things like nudity, sexual activity, and graphic or illegal content. The move allows moderators to focus more on regulating things like hate speech, bullying, and misinformation. The systems will roll out in the US and Canada over the next several weeks. We'll be right back after this. It's time to honor today's 4-state hero. Staff Sergeant Eric Fry served in the U.S. Army and was stationed in Afghanistan, a recipient of the Bronze Star and a native of HEANEY, Kansas. We thank you, Staff Sergeant Eric Fry, our 4-state hero. For 78 years, the town of Diamond has been honoring a Southwest Missouri man whose legacy reaches across the nation. While he may be best known for his 300 uses for the peanut, George Washington Carver did so much more than that. Over the weekend, the George Washington Carver National Monument in Diamond hosted Carver Day to honor the scientist's life.
He's best known for promoting crop rotation. See, in the South, the soil on the farms were becoming very exhausted through the overplanting of cotton. So he was a big proponent of alternate crops.
Carver Day is the monument's annual celebration of George Washington Carver's life and all he's done for society.
I think the importance of remembering Carver is remembering his struggles, remembering his dedication. I mean, this man was deeply dedicated to alleviating poverty and feeding human beings.
The event to remember Carver included guided tours of the Carver Trail, a ranger giving a presentation on who the scientist was, and Lem Shepard performing songs dating back to Carver's lifetime.
He is just an outstanding interpreter of African American roots music.
For Shepard, it's all about looking at Carver's life through music.
Way down in Egypt land, Pharaoh.
I wanted to kind of bookmark his lifetime with what was around when he was born and towards the end of his life, what were people listening to, and to kind of get an idea of the range of his life in music.
He says he wants to show people that there's more to the inventor.
I always want to show the other side, you know, just the guy that maybe went home after work and maybe went to a show.
Which is why songs he played at the event were ones Carver himself would have listened to.
That was KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky reporting. One thing Lim added was that although people know who George Washington Carver was, there's still more to learn about him. And by performing music he may have listened to, we can get a better glimpse into his life. Another half hour of news and weather just ahead, coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. With gas prices hitting new highs, we have the reaction from LA County residents who have to pay up to $4.34 at the pump. A backlog at the DMV causes a Pearl City man to drive a rental car that wasn't actually registered. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back.
Most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:31. Let's take a look at today's top stories. Local health officials say state vaccine records don't really tell the whole story. In Cherokee County, the KDHE says that 309 per 1,000 people have been vaccinated with at least one dose. But the local health department last week told us that may not really be the case. Why it's not is because if a resident is vaccinated in another state, like Missouri, the state of Kansas doesn't get a record of that. Both Kansas Department of Health and Missouri Department of Health point out the discrepancy on their website. The Infection Control Director at Ascension Via Christi recommends letting your local health department know if you were vaccinated in another state. COVID-19 is on the rise in the Sooner State, and Northeast Oklahoma health officials, who are seeing an increase in coronavirus cases and hospitalizations, speak out as the situation heads in the wrong direction. At Integris Hospital in Grove, officials say they went 4 to 6 weeks without seeing a hospitalization. But the situation changed in mid-June, and now they're seeing much younger and sicker patients. One person is injured after a truck crashes into a utility pole on Missouri 171 near Carl Junction. The Missouri State Highway Patrol says a truck driven by 22-year-old Caden Presley of Joplin was heading southbound on 171 and went around the curve near Ivy Road when the driver lost control, left the road, and struck the utility pole. The driver was transported to Freeman Hospital with injuries. The Missouri State Highway Patrol says a 14-year-old boy from Knoll drowned in the Elk River Friday night. According to the Highway Patrol, the incident occurred just before 8 p.m. Officials say the 14-year-old was playing in shallow water and went too far into the water and drowned. He was taken to Freeman West in Joplin, where he was pronounced dead just before 11 o'clock. The Montgomery County Sheriff's Office says a man drowned Friday evening at Elk City State Park. Officials say they received a call around 5 Friday evening of a possible drowning. When deputies arrived, they learned a 47-year-old man began yelling for help in the swimming area before he went under and did not resurface. Authorities began a search and around 11:20 Friday night found the man's body. He was pronounced dead on the scene, and his name has not been released. Senator Jim Inhofe's office requests $4 million in federal funds to help combat illegal marijuana growing operations. The Republican says the money would allow the Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics to to establish a unit to combat national drug organizations. Sheriffs and other law enforcement groups say illegal marijuana growers are setting up in rural parts of the state and funneling cannabis into the illegal drug trade. Joplin City officials released an update on the network security incident from July 7th. In Saturday's update, city officials say they confirmed the third-party service that the city uses to process utility payments and store residents' payment information was not impacted by the incident. The city adds that it does not store residents' payment information in its network. Severe storms on Saturday night left a wake of damage in southeast Missouri. This video comes out of Dexter, where strong winds and a reported tornado downed power lines and uprooted trees. An area hospital had to evacuate patients and the emergency department of Stoddard County due to storm damage. Thankfully, no one was hurt. At one time, Ameren, Missouri reported more than 1,600 customers without power in the county. I am so glad we're not getting tornadoes right now.
Yeah, Zach, here when we get to the Skywatch Storm Track, I'll show you exactly, for those of you I'm not picking on you, Zach, for those of you that may not know where Dexter is, it's not too far from Cape, down the Boot Heel, but this is actually the third time dating back to the beginning of the year that they've had significant damage in that town. It's only a town of about 7,000 people. It's absolutely gorgeous. Mark Twain National Forest, the whole nine.
For sure.
But yeah, Mother Nature has been picking on them extremely hard in 2021. Let's start with a live look over television, not Television City, we'll go 7th and Rangeline. I mean, we got Television City Part 2 right there, but yeah, you know, not exactly the mothership. It's part of the mothership. 67 degrees. Have been picking up some light rain drizzle. Don't see any current drops exactly hitting the lens though. 67 as well in Pittsburgh, 66 in Miami, 65 in Monette, and throw Chanute as our clubhouse leader in there, already up to 68. Now, when we talk about our temperatures being in the high 70s, low 80s today, it's a far cry from our average high this time of year, which should be around 90 degrees. Thank goodness, look at that record, 112 dating back to 1954. We do have some significant cloud cover. It's kind of giving us almost an overcast look. And we were talking about Dexter. You can put it right down here by, there's Poplar Bluff, Sykeston, right in there. There's New Madrid. So that's an idea about where those storms Zach was talking about. Back to the 4 states, because we've got flood warnings that are going to last all the way into the middle of the week for not only the Osage, but also the Little Osage. Any rain that we do pick up, eastern portion of southwest Missouri, and certainly nothing severe. Cool temps for today, and then, hello, high 80s and right back into the 90s all the way into the weekend. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Black Widow hit theaters this weekend, Marvel's first big screen movie in 2 years.
It did not disappoint at the box office. There she is, look, she's running. Called it. Latest Marvel movie set a new post-pandemic record for the biggest debut weekend, beating the 2-week-old post-pandemic debut that was previously just set by F9. Black Widow dominated the weekend. Get this, picked up $80 million as Scarlet continues to run.
And in second place, F9, The Fast Saga. It made $10.8 million.
Boss Baby, Family Business. It came in third, 8.7 mil. Look at that gap.
Yeah.
2 through 5 close together. And then look at that gap between them and Black Widow.
Very big gap. And it seemed to be a good weekend for sequels. In fourth place, The Forever Purge, because that's how long we're going to get Purge movies apparently. It raked in $6.7 million.
I love it when he pulls the punches. Rounding out the top 5, another sequel, John Krasinski's The Quiet Place Part 2, which Dodge recommends.
Yes,
right.
I do.
Brought in $3 million.
Movie. Shonda Rhimes and Netflix continue their romance, and a new Toy Story director has Toy Story finally has its director. Sorry, words are hard.
Dita Demetrius, our eye on entertainment.
You must have been madly in love.
Netflix and Shonda Rhimes are taking their artistic relationship to the next level. The Bridgerton creator and the streaming service have struck a deal that goes beyond more TV shows to include feature films, gaming, and virtual reality content.
You think that just because I'm a woman, I'm incapable of making my own choices?
The expanded deal comes on the heels of Shondaland's wildly successful Bridgerton, Netflix's most popular original show, boasting 82 million viewers in 28 days. Oscar-nominated filmmaker Greta Gerwig has officially signed on to direct Barbie, according to multiple entertainment publications. The big-screen live-action feature will star Margot Robbie as the iconic Mattel doll. Production is slated to start next year. And for everyone who missed the Foo Fighters show last month in New York City, Madison Square Garden just released a short documentary about the event called The Day the Music Came Back. The night marked the return of live music in New York City 15 months after the pandemic pulled the plug on concerts. That's your eye on entertainment. Dina Demetrius, CBS News, Los Angeles.
She didn't tell us what that's streaming on.
No, she didn't. I'll have to check it out, though.
Yeah, if it's Foo Fighters, I'm there with
cool.
you, brother. I'm right there with you.
Gotcha. We'll be right back. They say summer vacations are fueling the demand for gas, and we're all paying the price. In LA County, the average price of a gallon of regular gas is $4.34. Brittany Hopper heads to the pump to ask residents of LA County what they think.
At this gas station in Brentwood, take a look, over $5 a gallon for regular gas. But is there any relief in sight? Pain at the pump is causing a lot of pain on your wallet. $5 a gallon for regular gas in parts of Los Angeles County have drivers wondering when gas prices will decrease.
I think it's highway robbery. Prices are ridiculous right now.
Believe it or not, the average price of a gallon of self-serve regular gasoline in LA County dropped 0.2 cents on Sunday to $4.34. Not much, but it is something, considering just a day before prices rose 0.6 cents to the highest pump prices we've seen since October 2012.
You know, I just hope it ends. It's summertime. I think people are paying the price because they want to travel. They want to get out after COVID. It's just been really a tough time. So I just hope it comes down.
The average price is 1.4 cents more than a week ago, 9 cents higher than a month ago, and $1.22 greater than 1 year ago. According to AAA, the increase in gas prices week after week is because of two reasons. One, the demand for gas as the demand for travel increases. And two, crude oil prices are at a very high level, almost at a 7-year high. But again, on Sunday, a slight decrease, which AAA says it too is hoping continues.
Well, we're hoping that we're going to see some relief at the pump, but we know one thing is for sure, that the demand for fuel is going to continue for the next couple of months as many people take to the roads for their summer vacations. We have seen demand for fuel increase tremendously.
In other words, expect high prices at the pump for the foreseeable future.
That was Brittany Hopper reporting. The new child tax credit will start hitting bank accounts this week. Eligible parents will receive monthly payments for each child starting on Thursday. It's part of the American Rescue Plan signed by President Biden. Families can get up to $3,600 per child or $300 a month. The advance payments are set to expire at the end of the year. Consumer demand for credit cards, auto loans, and personal loans shot up 39% in April from the same time a year ago. That's according to a recent report from Equifax, and the borrowing spree doesn't seem to be ending. Last week, the Federal Reserve said total consumer credit jumped 10% in May to $35 billion. More Americans are saying I do. The wedding industry is making a major rebound as much of the U.S. is bouncing back from COVID-19. Business sales of both engagement rings and wedding bands are on the rise. In addition, nuptials that were postponed due to the pandemic are also taking place as family and friends start to gather again in person. One reason for a rise in marriages, aside from, of course, true love, is many Americans have been able to save money during the shutdown while they were not able to go to restaurants or on vacations. We'll be right back with more after this, but first let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell. A trip in a rental car turned into a legal headache for one family and his family in Hawaii. Now he has a warning for you. Before you book your next vehicle. Wow, sorry. Tom George has the story.
For Joe Agor from Pearl City and his family, a 4th of July weekend trip to Maui to see the lavender fields in bloom wasn't cheap.
My mom had booked a rental car. Ended up forking out a little over $1,100 for 2 days to rent the car.
They didn't mind that part, but it's what happened once they got the car that ruined their trip. Someone bumped into the car while it was parked, so Joe called police to make a report, but instead, things turned around on them.
It was then that he noticed that, oh, this car has expired registration. And I'm like, what? And then sure enough, he immediately said, oh, I'm going to have to give you a ticket. And I'm like, you're joking, right?
It wasn't a joke. Ace Rental Cars admitted to KITV4 it was expired. They told us there was a backlog at the DMV to get cars registered, and they would check to make sure other cars in their fleet didn't also slip through the cracks. But in a statement, Maui County says there shouldn't be any excuse. They say rental cars are allowed to easily register cars in bulk, and that it's rare a rental car shouldn't be up to date. On Oahu, it's the same situation. The county says as rental car companies are restocking their fleets, it's full speed ahead getting them registered.
It started in May and it's going to continue throughout the summer that these cars are going to come in fleets, and they can be processed depending on how they come in, either quickly or manually, but we are getting them through as fast as we can.
As for Joe, he says Ace never told him about the expired registration, and he would never have driven the car had he known. Ace Reynolds said they'll go to court to handle the ticket on his behalf, but Joe says it's still a hassle.
Still more humbug, more hoo-hoo that I have to deal with.
His advice for other travelers, check that sticker on the back anytime you rent a car.
If other rental car companies are renting out cars without insurance or insurance or registration, they might suffer the same fate that I did.
It seems ridiculously paranoia, but I actually do that when I rent a car.
Yeah?
Check
Okay.
the plates. Yeah.
It seems like it would be a good thing to do. I've never rented a car before.
I want to
so.
see what state it's out of too.
Yeah.
Because a rental car could have plates from any state. My question is, because you and I were just talking during the story, I know the price of rental cars is exorbitant right now. Are they going to comp him for that? Not the ticket.
Right.
I mean, however many days he rented the car.
The price of the car, yeah. Right.
That's what I'd be saying. Like I said, I would be like, number one, I know you're going to take care of this in court. Number two, let's just call this weekend on you.
Right. Just call it even.
Exactly. That's probably got to scare you there because you don't know. I mean, here's another thing you do in a rental car, Dodge. Even if you don't use it, you pop the trunk and you make sure there's nothing in there.
All right. Yeah, I'll have to keep that in mind for whenever I probably never rent a rental car.
I got a story, not my story. I got a story about a buddy who popped the trunk and there was a rifle back there.
Oh, yeah?
You don't want to get pulled over.
I'm kind of glad that didn't go in a different direction.
Exactly. All right, live look outside of Television City. It's been overcast all morning long and even picking up some light drizzle. This is, of course, of 7th and Rangeline. Now, the rain's not going to affect the drive at all. It's not coming down that hard. Chanute's still our clubhouse leader at 68, but let's throw Yates Center in there as well. A pair of 67s in Lamar and Carthage. Miami sits at 66. The Skywatch Storm Tracker shows you that most of the heavier rain, that stays off to our east, and that will kind of be the theme all day long. It'll be right on the Ozarks, if not east of it. We still do have 2 flood warnings from the water that we picked up not only last week, but over the weekend as well for the Osage and Little Osage rivers that last until the middle of the week. We've got rain on the east coast, and we've got a system down in the southwest that is also going to pose flooding threats for Arizona and New Mexico. Here in the 4 states, highs in the high 70s, low 80s. That is really hard to beat for this time of year. Now, any rain that we do have later this morning, early afternoon hours, it will remain light. Off to the eastern portion of southwest Missouri, farther west you go, drier you are and sunnier you are. Probably hotter you are too. And speaking of hot, well, that's going to kick in with tomorrow's warming trend because we'll be high 80s, low 90s up until the weekend. We'll be back, wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. New COVID-19 infections are on the rise in at least 24 states as the more contagious Delta variant spreads. And Pfizer says it's meeting today with FDA and other health officials to talk about its authorization request for a 3rd dose booster shot of its vaccine. Firefighters are battling dozens of major wildfires across the West. The Beckworth Complex fire in Northern California is one of several blazes destroying homes and forcing evacuations. Extreme drought and intense heat are making matters worse. In Oregon, the bootleg fire grew into the biggest wildfire in the country. Pope Francis on Sunday, July 11th, delivered his Angelus prayer from the 10th floor of Gemelli Hospital in Rome, where he is recovering from surgery. Francis is recovering from intestinal surgery, but he was not well enough to return to the Vatican in time for his Sunday noon blessing. Francis underwent a 3-hour operation. It was the first time he's been hospitalized since his election as Pope in 2013. He timed the surgery for the start of July, a month in which his only public commitments are his Sunday blessings. Let's check in with Michael Hayslip with our final look at the weather.
One last time, Sir Dodge, as we will finally be able to break through the clouds a little bit later this afternoon. Mid-70s though, absolutely delightful. Any rain that we do see, it's going to be light on the eastern portion of the 4 states. Then get ready for the heat wave that begins tomorrow.
Thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning. We'll be back with more news and weather at noon.
All right, I want everybody to have a great morning and an even better Monday.
Definitely. And like Michael Hayslip just said, have a great morning and an even better day, and you'll see me right back here tomorrow morning.
I will.